years ago, or maybe a little more than that, when our oldest children were young and we were homeschooling, and we started attending, I was kind of a homeschool conference junkie, and I met Dr. DeMille before he had ever published any of his books, and heard him speak, and I thought, oh, there's something really cool about that. And then a couple years later, he started teaching classes on the Wasatch Front. For about 4 years, he and Dr. Brooks and Dr. Early came up from Cedar City and taught classes on the Wasatch Front. And that's when Bonnie and I both did our master's programs with them and really got to know each other. And a couple years into that, we got to the point where we had to write a thesis. And I actually wrote my thesis on the education of the 15 men who became the presidents of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I spent 2 years reading about their lives and analyzing their education and trying to look for the phases of learning and the keys of leadership education, because I thought, well, of course, these are world leaders. They're going to clearly show all those steps. And in some ways they did, and in some ways they didn't. And their educations are just so completely unique and different. And there were only a couple factors, actually, that I found were really significant that they all had in common, okay? Because you've got everybody from some of those early prophets like Joseph Smith, who really never went to school, to some really highly educated men who came later. But anyway, the two things that I found that were really significant about their education is, number one, they all learned in their very early childhood how to communicate with God. And they learned how to interpret the Spirit and how to feel the Spirit and act upon that in their lives. And the second thing that I decided that they really all had in common was that they all learned to work really, really hard. And so as a homeschool parent over the last 10 or 15 years, on days when I think everything isn't going very well and we're not doing all the things that we should be doing, I can kind of go back to that. And it's helped me to also really get my priorities in order and to decide that the most important thing for me to be teaching my children is how to communicate with God, and then to be sure that they learn how to work. And it really helps, too, with discipline. You know, if your kids don't want to do math, that's okay. There's always floors to clean and, and laundry to do. And, you know, if they're working really hard all the time, eventually they'll learn how to do the things that they really want to do. And if they learn how to communicate with God, which, you know, that's not something you can just, like, give them, right? But then they'll know that they're here for a purpose and that they have a mission, that this whole life didn't happen by accident, but there's a reason why they're here and that they have something important to do. And when they know that, and they know that God loves them and cares about them, that they're here for a purpose, and they're willing to work hard to find out what it is God wants them to do and to work hard to do it, then you've got really the recipe for success in education and in life. So that was my big project. And Bonnie's big project was History is the Hook. And so over these couple of years as we're in class, we're writing all these chapters and discussing and reading and sharing these things together. And she kept talking about history. And, you know, after a few years of hearing it, I was like, oh, maybe I'll try that. And so I had to have a practicum. And so I decided that I would do my practicum on History is the Hook. And Emily was probably about 10 or 11. And I had 3 kids that were schooling and then a baby. And I remember so distinctly, I decided to do this big project, and I was going to take 6 months and just try changing our homeschool and centering it around history. And I sat all the kids down on the living room floor and in a little circle, and I told them what I wanted to do. And I said, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to, like, start at the very beginning. So we're going to start with, like, Adam and Eve, and we're going to tell stories. And then after we tell stories, we're going to do activities, and we can do art or whatever. And then after that, we're going to write about what we learned. And we'll do that all morning for school time. How does that sound to you? And they were just like, oh, that sounds so fun. And I guess, I don't know, homeschool had probably gotten to be kind of a drag at my house before that. Because, like, do your math, do your spelling, do this or do that. And it just changed. It changed the way that we've had our school. And so I've just continued that. And over the last 10 years, we've gone through that 4-year cycle. Not as many times as you should have, because sometimes it takes me more than a year to get through a year. But anyway. We've done it a couple of times, and it is so fun for me. It made it so much more exciting for me, because it's hard for me to get really excited about grammar and spelling and adding and subtracting, even though that can be really exciting too. But these getting together and telling stories and acting them out and writing plays and writing and reading about all of these things was just so fun. And it brought us together. Even though everyone was on a different level, it gave us something that we could do for our fun homeschool time that brought us together. So I just love that, and I'll be eternally indebted to Bonnie for helping me to see a way to create that type of education. Okay, so what I'm really supposed to be talking about is leadership education. So do any of you, is there anyone here who has not read one of Dr. DeMille's books on leadership education? No? Okay, there are a few. Okay, good, great.
Dads.
Some of the, no, it's okay. Okay, I just kind of want to know. So the rest of you have at least read one, like leadership education or TJ Ed for Teens or Thomas Jefferson Education, one of those. And like I said, we do have a few copies. We ordered like 20 of each last summer, so we have a few left over still. If you want one, we've got some there. But leadership education is our basic philosophy. And to me, the number one thing, my number one goal in my home, well, okay, I can't really say my number one goal because I already went over my number one goal with you before. Wait, what? Wait, what are you saying about me? Okay, he'll tell you the honest truths, okay? So anyway, I already really told you my number one goal. My number one goal is to teach him to communicate with God. But really, the thing that I am trying to do in our homeschool and here at Family Lyceum is to inspire my children. I want to teach with such passion and energy and be so in love with the things that I'm learning that it's contagious and that they are going to catch on and want to come along for the ride, that they're going to love it. And the words that in leadership education, the word for that is inspire. So that's really, that's what we're all about. We are here to inspire. At Family Lyceum, we talk about lighting the fire. Right? All of our classes are all these like fire names, right? You got the little flicker of light and the embers that are like coals that can burn longer and the torch that's bigger and can go places, they've got driver's licenses or whatever. And, so we're kind of like enthralled with this whole idea of lighting the fire, and we understand that education is not the filling of the pail, but the lighting of the fire. And it's all about inspiring them so that they want to learn. We also really understand that we can't really teach anyone anything, that all education is self-education. All we can do is, we can stand up here and teach all day, but if they don't want to learn and just, go to any school or anywhere, you see examples of this, right? If the people in the room don't want to learn, are they going to learn? Right? If they don't really care, are they going to retain anything? Even if there's a test that they have to pass to go to the movies and they pass it, did they really learn anything? So it's all about inspiring and teaching in such a way that, that they love it and that they want to come along for the ride and that they get excited about something of their own. So we don't have to all be studying the same thing, but when they see that I'm excited about what I'm learning, then they're going to be excited about what they're learning. So I'd like this to be a little bit more of a discussion. So what kind of things do you do or do you want to do or do you try to do in your homes that inspire? What inspires? Or maybe a better question, what inspires you? Okay, Sylvia,
yes.
Right? Okay.
At our house, we like to do projects. I think that's really
Okay.
We'll read a book and get ideas of something, but my kids like to build things. They like to draw. They like to get messy. They like to make costumes. They like to actually do all that kind of thing.
Yes.
So just reading a book or something or watching a movie, we're kind of like, yeah, when can we do the fun part?
Right.
So.
Right. They want to get their hands dirty, right? We want to get into it. Yeah, I love that. We want to do projects, and we want to do projects that we're interested in, that we're excited about. So I love that. That's great. Okay, I'm just going to jot down some words because, it's fun to write on the board. Okay, what else? What else inspires you, or what things do you do that you think inspire your kids? Okay?
We talk a lot about ideas and possibilities and kind of blue sky a lot.
Okay, so a lot of
That inspires them.
discussing things that are meaningful to them.
I love that.
Wait, what was that?
We call them what ifs.
Oh, what ifs? Oh, yeah. Okay. So you read something or you talk about something and what if this? Great, I love that. The Orrs, I forgot your first names.
Susan and Quinn.
Susan and Quinn. Okay, great, love it. Okay, Sidra?
So our kids are a little bit on the younger side. So we're in a very physical state in our family. Like everything has to be kind of a physical, like it has to get them up and moving and out touching and doing. So a little bit of the project, but I mean it can also be like physical activity. Like they love to just get out in nature and stuff. So we're kind of in the physical.
Good,
right now.
good. Yeah, so if it, you know, you learn it better if you can smell it, if you can taste it, if you can feel it, if you can climb it, if you can see it, right? So just really get up close. I don't know, what are we going to call that? We'll just put, yeah, hands-on. That's good, yeah. Yeah. And I think you do that as much as you can, right? If you can draw it and paint it and walk it and feel it and sing it, then it has meaning, right? Great. Oh, I love it. Okay, other ideas?
We try to explain what the future purpose of what they're learning is. You know, sometimes they're like, why do I need to learn this? I remember feeling like that as a kid. And
Right.
it's like, well,
Oh
because
my
you're going to have
gosh.
these opportunities to learn this and to lead and teach others and do those other things. So we try to give them a little idea of what the purpose is.
Well, right, because it seems meaningless, right? It's like, why should you learn to divide? I mean, who cares?
Yeah,
We got a
exactly.
calculator, right? But if they start to see, oh, wow, you know,
It'll help me provide for my family.
or you learn about somebody like, we just read about Pascal yesterday, so that's on my mind. I read this amazing book that we're going to read next year. But he did all these experiments. You know, he got like this 46-foot glass tube. Does anybody have one? Because I really want one. and you know, he was figuring out why there was a vacuum in the top of the tube. And you know, and then there are all these things that apply to that. Like, who cares about that today? Oh, well, do we have anything in our lives that has hydraulics in it or motors? Or I mean, the list of all the things that we've learned from Pascal, I was like, whoa, what would my life be like if we didn't have this stuff? So you learn to apply, you know, the things that we're learning and realize that it has meaning to me. I love that. Good. Okay, other ideas? What else do we do? What do we do to inspire? Okay,
Well,
Mindy.
for a musician, if they can listen to like really accomplished musicians and even go to a concert, it's even better. Then they want to do that, you know, it inspires them.
Okay, so if you're a musician, let's say your child's a budding violinist or whatever, and you take them to a concert with a concert violinist, what happens? What is it that happens in that moment?
It's like magic. I don't know.
Yeah, it is.
I think you realize that what you're doing isn't really the thing that you're trying. You think so. My girls right now are trying to play the piano, and I think they think they're awesome, and they are awesome in their own way.
Well, right.
But as soon as their friend comes in and starts playing a song that they heard on the radio, just by ear, their minds are blown. They're like, "Whoa, that's really the piano." And then when they go even further and they really, you know, listen to a virtuoso, then it's even more. They realize that, you know, what they thought was real isn't really real, and they have to think more outside the box.
Okay, Sidra?
They see the possibilities, right?
Yeah.
What they're learning.
They're so inspired because they see a master, right? So I'm going to throw up a word that we all love, a mentor. And there are different kinds of mentors, and there are different kinds of classics, right? So when you take them to that concert and they hear the concert violinist, they've now heard and felt a classic, right? And before they were just hearing their own little squeak, 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 and it's hard to tell. So a classic, or you know, can be a book. A lot of times when we think of classics, we just think of books. But a classic can also be a classic work, like Michelangelo's Pietà, or The Violinist, or something like that. And when we bring our children, or our families, or ourselves face to face with a mentor, maybe a violin teacher or a piano teacher who's really good and can play something beautiful, or introduce them to these classic pieces that are so far beyond where they are, they can see, oh, that's what this could sound like, right? That's the experience I could have with this. That's how much fun this instrument could be. That's how exciting. And you've all of a sudden inspired them, right? Because you've brought them right close up with something so much more than what they know in their own little bedroom where they're practicing. Okay, what else? What other ideas? What else inspires? Okay, Jack.
Well, it may not be inspiring sometimes, but overall, I think it is when you give them the experience of caring for an animal.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not talking necessarily hamsters or lizards or snakes in an aquarium, but we chose early on to buy a project with our home. It's an old 1891.
Oh, I love it.
And they're bountiful, and so it's become a long project. It will be till we die, but part of that was having enough land to grow a garden, to have some animals.
Yeah, we have to
and
put my
so,
favorite word up here somewhere.
You know, we have chickens and ducks and rabbits and one of the things that the kids have had is there's always the excitement when you get, some little ducks or little chickens. And as everyone knows with a pet, how long does it take?
A couple days.
Yeah. 2 days.
2 days.
And all of a sudden, I got to feed it.
Yeah, to clean.
And so there's different aspects that we've experienced and still experiencing that have been kind of fun. But, at the same time, there's some aspects. One time we forgot to put the ducks in at night, and the raccoons got them. And so but these are real life experiences, and so all of a sudden, they're learning what it's like to have the responsibility of caring for, let's say, children.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's been a lot of fun. But you have to push through I don't want to go feed them. Years ago when we had some goats, my girls forgot to feed them. So that morning they found a bowl full of mucky straw in there on the table. And so when they came in, and they were ready to eat breakfast.
These are good parents.
It stunk.
We just threaten them and, hit them with bells.
So that morning, they not only had to go out and feed them, but they had to muck the pen, which they did anyway. But
Yeah.
I mean, there's those type of experiences, and then you take it to another level. The ducks are laying eggs. The chickens are laying eggs. The rabbits do have bunnies. And one of the things is
I don't know if I can spell this word.
These animals cost X amount of dollars to get. They cost X amount of dollars to feed. And every one of the animals are cash flowing.
Yeah.
Every one of them. And so, we have an Oriental couple that comes from West Valley and buys the duck eggs. We all as a family eat the chicken eggs. We sell the bunnies. Those I can make bucks off of that. And
You can learn a lot of math too.
It's true. And so there's those opportunities, and then
Exactly.
the garden.
Oh, yeah.
All those things.
Well, and I feel like those are the kind of things that are real life. You're teaching them about work and responsibility. You're teaching them about relationships. And unfortunately, in the school model where we live, they don't really learn a lot about choices and accountability and relationships and consequences, because usually they're bailed out, and there are always adults there to manage everybody. And anyway, it doesn't work very well because that's why there's so much bullying. But anyway, so at home, in this kind of environment like you're describing, they can learn some of those vital life lessons, right? And probably shed a lot of tears. We have animals at our house. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of tears. And there's, we've got a pretty good-sized place where we bury all the dead and that didn't get fed, or the cage didn't get locked, or the raccoons came, So you learn all those things. I love it. It's part of life. And my husband has to remind me, because I often want to just quit the whole thing. But it is good. And so thank you teaching them life lessons. Great. Okay, other ideas. What else do we do to